The views and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and producers and are not those of Apple or any authorized service provider. Information provided is purely for entertainment purposes only. For more information about products and services discussed in this program, we invite you to visit a corporate Apple store or an approved, certified Apple Service and Sales Center.
Today we celebrate the first...
Hello, I'm Mac.
You're stealing from us!
Guy's great.
Don't scully around.
The Apple podcast that brings you information from both sides of the counter.
A lot of it is actually power supply, because those things do need some power, as well as cooling fans, because they get hot.
From both the customer and the sales and service provider's point of view.
You want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world?
Because we don't scully around.
What can I say? I hired the wrong guy.
Hola, Apple.
Dear Mr. Cook.
Dear Tim.
Dear Mr. Cook. Hello, Mr. Cook.
I'm writing to you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
I'm writing you from Atlanta, Georgia.
Soy triatleta y soy invidente.
I am a 27-year-old high school teacher.
I'm a senior in high school. I only had the watch for 2 or 3 weeks.
El reloj ha cambiado por completo la manera en la que entreno y compito.
I was viewing a movie with my wife in her family room.
I was having lunch at one of the spiciest restaurants in San Diego.
It was a typical summer night. I looked around the corner, and a bear was staring right at me. I was doing what we call a dump and return when I slipped headfirst into the compactor.
I was skating on a frozen river when the ice gave out.
The door closed, and everything went dark.
My longtime friend started grasping his chest.
I was fighting to catch my breath.
I used the watch to study my pulse, and it was wildly erratic. Things escalated quickly from there.
I was getting tired. I could tell hypothermia was setting in.
I go to grab my phone, but my pockets are empty. I didn't have my phone on me. As I was trying to figure out what to do, I looked down and saw my watch.
I placed my Apple Watch on his wrist and I couldn't believe my eyes. An atrial fibrillation notification popped up. Holy cow.
Holy moly.
I looked down at my Apple Watch, and my heart rate was 187 beats per minute.
I drove him to the hospital where he was treated for a heart condition he wasn't aware he had.
Dear Apple, my dad was flying our small plane to Vermont. I was asleep in the back seat. I woke up when we were crashing into the tops of the trees. The plane broke into 6 pieces, and we were miles away from civilization in the freezing cold. Then, all of a sudden, my Apple Watch started ringing. I forgot I was wearing it. I told my grandma that I'd have to call her back, and I immediately called 911.
I whispered to my co-teacher, I need to go to the emergency room right now.
We were advised to head directly to the emergency room.
I held down the button and whispered, Siri, call 911. I dialed 911, and that sucker started ringing, and I was smiling like a brand new baby.
Rescuers arrived in minutes.
If I hadn't had the Apple Watch, things could have been much worse.
I'm so grateful. From now on, I'll never leave the house without it.
Es impresionante cómo este pequeño aparato me ha ayudado tanto en mi vida.
My doctor said it was your watch that saved your life.
Thanks for helping save my friend's life.
Since the heart event was without other symptoms, clearly the watch was my only call to action and my only link to the fine medical care that saved my life. With deep gratitude, Eric.
Thank you, Hannah.
Sinceramente, Marcos.
Bill.
Tayron.
Sincerely, Dr. Korn.
All the best, Shay.
That's right, folks. Have your Apple Watch on you at all times or you're gonna die. Welcome to Don't Scully Around. My name is Chris Williams. My wife, Caitlin Williams, is here with me, and we are both Apple authorized technicians bringing some insight to you on this exciting podcast. On this edition, we're going to be talking about the Apple Watch and the fun craziness that's been going on over the last several years, and probably one of the main reasons why we've been, I guess, holding off from buying new Apple Watches. And that, of course, is the whole situation with Massimo and the belief that Apple may have used proprietary trademarks in the manufacturing or the development of either the hardware or the software involved in measuring the blood oxygen sensor on your Apple Watch. So if you live in the U.S. over the last several years, you've probably noticed that blood oxygen sensor was disabled on your particular device. Now, it's still in there. It's just disabled in hardware because it kind of wouldn't make sense for Apple to create merchandise that has one piece of hardware in it in one area of the world and another piece of hardware in the other area of the world. But we're not 100% certain if they've solved that or have come to any sort of agreement with Massimo, or if the courts have thrown it out. But a few weeks ago, you folks that own current generation Apple Watches and Apple Watch Ultras, it's come back.
Dun, dun, dun. I'm sure you got a fancy way of doing that.
I do.
But anyway, yes, as of August 14th, an update from Apple, an update on blood oxygen for Apple Watch in the U.S. Apple will introduce a redesign blood oxygen feature for some Apple Watch Series 9, Series 10, and Series Watch Ultra 2 users. So that is specifically the current models, through an iPhone and Apple Watch update coming later today. That was on August 14th, so in the past. Users with these models who currently do not have blood oxygen feature will have access to the redesigned blood oxygen feature by updating their stuff. Following this update, sensor data from the blood oxygen app on Apple Watch will be measured and calculated on the paired iPhone rather than on the watch itself. Results can be viewed in the respiratory section of the Health app. This update was enabled by a recent U.S. Customs ruling. There will be no impact to Apple Watch units previously purchased that included the original blood oxygen feature, nor to Apple Watch units purchased outside of the U.S., so anybody else, it's fine. Yes. And then after that, they're just talking about how wonderful they are. But as it continues, there was a bit more drama-ish that I swear Massimo is just looking for it at this point. Also, part of the story is that Massimo is going after Apple for a patent on technology that they never used. Like, it was still in the beta testing phase. It wasn't, and then they discarded it. But because they have a patent, so legally they have the rights to it, they decided to go after Apple because of reasons. And now they've changed their CEO 3 times through this whole process, and now the current one actually doesn't hate Apple, so there's some benefits there. There's also, Massimo is actually still fighting back against the current rulings, saying that this isn't fair to U.S. Customs, and is still continuing to fight it, so it's still up in the air, as insane as that is to say. Yeah, it's
now you just said, isn't some of the deal that there may have been engineers that work for Massimo that got hired away from Apple, and they could
it's been 4 years. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. And you know what's funny is now it's not as, when it came out, it was a big thing, and now it's not. I mean, the only reason we haven't gotten our Apple Watches replaced under warranty because our batteries are dead on them was because if we sent them in, we would get them back with the blood oxygen feature turned off because we're in the US. And so we've just been holding off on that, just letting our batteries be terrible. Now that this is back again, now we're debating on either getting new watches or replacing the ones we have currently for battery issues, because it's not that expensive to do. And we're kind of tossed up between it. But also, then when they did the next thing of, oh my gosh, that, now we're going to continue to fight this because it's still not fair for reasons that I'm struggling to find at the moment, it's kind of just, I don't know. For me, I've been waiting on getting a new Apple Watch because it feels like if I were to get a new Apple Watch, they'd be taking a feature away and giving me a new feature. And until they give me a new feature that gives me enough wow that I really want that, I wasn't going to get a new one. At this point, my Apple Watch is so old that any of them would be a fun new feature. So I'm in the camp of we're getting new Apple Watches. He is not.
Originally, it was kind of like, I don't need an Apple Watch. I don't know what I'm going to use this thing for. Yeah, I enjoy...
I want to make sure your heart was okay. You're fine.
Yeah, I enjoy taking phone calls on the watch. I will say one of the most exciting, the funniest things I would do in the early days of COVID, not to get political, of course, but I would be working in a store and I would have folks come in and say, oh my God, how can you wear a mask for 8 hours a day? I've only been in your store for 5 minutes and I can't breathe. Oh, it's terrible. And then I would pull out my Apple Watch and show my blood oxygen amount that's saying, my blood oxygen is at 100%, and it's been that way all day. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm breathing fine with this mask on. I hated it, but that was the thing. But yeah, I mean, I didn't think the Apple Watch would be exciting for me. Now I'm addicted to closing my rings, and I'm addicted to...
I like the walking timer on your wrist. It's so nice to put cookies into the oven and then just let them sit in the oven and go sit on the couch, and then your watch goes off and then the cookies are done. I know it's such a basic thing, but God, it's nice. I also found one of the original articles. This one's from Mac Rumors from back in 2020. Massimo accused Apple of stealing secret information by pretending to have a working relationship with Massimo and then poaching Massimo employees. Massimo also believes that Apple is infringing on 10 Massimo patents and says that Apple relied on Massimo technology that when developing the light-based heart rate sensor used in the Apple Watch. So that was from the original back in 2020. That was actually back in January of 2020. Wow, this has been going on for a while. Like, I honestly don't use it that much. So I'm like, why am I upset by this? It's mainly that I bought this thing. It had that feature in it. I bought it knowing that feature was in it. I bought it for other reasons. But also, if I'm going to get it replaced, I don't want to lose something by getting it replaced. So I'd rather deal with a crappy battery and still have all the features that I originally bought from the unit. I'm hoping that this next round of Apple Watches is at least exciting enough for me to replace. I'm still on an Apple Watch Series 6, so really any of them are. From being at work and experiencing other people's Apple Watches from trying to troubleshoot them, I'm probably going to do it just because I've been seeing the speed difference is enough, as well as the battery life is driving me nuts. I'm down to a point where I need to charge it twice a day.
And that's from just being on your wrist. It's not like you're using it to take phone calls, you're streaming podcasts through it. Yeah, it's probably getting to the point where it is time. The idea of coming home and saying, I want to go take a walk.
Yeah.
And use the health tracking stuff and be like, oh, I got to charge the Apple Watch for at least a half an hour so I know I can go for a walk.
Or I just look at it and go, hey, I've got 10%. I can go for a walk. And then I'm halfway through and the watch dies. I'm actually really sad about that one because I was going so much faster.
We'll keep you posted on what we decide to do with the Apple Watch. And if you were listening to us 6 years ago, I did joke about the Apple Watch being able to take your blood glucose level, and I thought, oh, is our Apple Watch is going to start stabbing us now? But that's not the case. You know,
it's interesting because that just keeps coming up, the blood glucose. They're supposed to be trying to basically at this point, I think Apple's just waiting for the technology to catch up, so that they're able to put it in. But I think the rumor mill is that it's getting very close. I don't think it's going to be this year, but I think they're saying in the next couple of years or so, it should actually be able to do blood glucose, and that's going to be... I don't know how I feel about that, because there's a lot of people out there that are now getting those blood glucose monitors that, like, you know, they're a little pin that just stays in your arm, and it stabs you and stays in there the whole day type of thing, and you get that. And, like, for people with diabetes or with blood sugar issues, fantastic. Like, I love that it's that little invasive. It's not that invasive. But, like, for the people who don't have it, like, I'm getting it advertised to myself. I am a heavy person. I am not diabetic. I do not have blood sugar issues really at this point. I barely considered pre-diabetic at this point by, like, 0.1. But it's also something, my doctors haven't recommended it, but all the Facebook ads are telling me, oh, you have to. And then I'm seeing all the stupid people on TikTok that are like, oh, well, and it's a skinny person who doesn't have diabetes. They'll even happily tell you that, or blood sugar issues. And they're going, but I have to keep track of this. Honestly, they're finding more issues with that than anything else, because if you don't have blood sugar issues, you don't need to regulate your blood sugar because your body is regulating your blood sugar. So, like, I'm both excited for this and I'm worried for it at the same time, because then you're just going to make that a bigger mountain of people that are going to be checking their blood sugar and going, oh, I'm low, but, you know, your body's going to regulate it if you're not somebody who has blood sugar issues. But maybe that's just me, because most people in my life had diabetes, as well as other reasons that I won't go into.
You mean like the skinny people that want to use Ozempic and...
made sure that nobody who actually needed it can get it?
Yeah.
Sorry, is there any anger there? I don't know what you're talking about.
So...
Anyway.
So that's exciting news, and...
I hope it stays.
Hey, could you use a couple of extra bucks in your pocket? Well, guess what? If you've got some old toys, collectibles kicking around the house, collecting dust in a closet somewhere or in an attic or the basement, our friends at the Vinyl Loft at the Vermont Antique Mall want to talk to you. The Vinyl Loft specializes in helping to rehome your beloved treasures. Yes, whether it's Star Wars toys, Atari and Nintendo games, VHS tapes, DVDs, maybe even an 8-track or two, cassettes, CDs, and of course, vinyl records. You can send the Vinyl Loft an email at thevinylloftenfieldnh@gmail.com. That's the Vinyl Loft enfieldnh@gmail.com, and set up an appointment for them to come and check out what you got, or you can just email them some pictures and say, hey, I've got this stuff. I'd like to pass it on to someone else, and they'll give you some money for your stuff. Oh yeah, don't forget also they deal in comic books as well. Whether you're looking to sell or buy some really cool vintage stuff, visit the Vinyl Loft, dealer 680 at the Vermont Antique Mall, right there in Quechee Village in Quechee, Vermont. They're located in Section 5. They have 3 amazing booths. It's like taking a trip back to your childhood if your childhood bedroom was a stall in an antique shop. But hey, visit the Vermont Antique Mall. Ask for dealer 680. Their friendly staff will take you right over to where you can find the Vinyl Loft at the Vermont Antique Mall in Quechee, Vermont. The Vermont Antique Mall is open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they've got a lot of great stuff there. They got over 150 dealers. So you'll not only be able to pick up some cool records and video games and collectible toys from the Vinyl Loft and comic books as well, you'll also be able to pick up some other really cool stuff that other folks sell up there at the Vermont Antique Mall. Reach out to the Vinyl Loft today if you have some stuff to sell, or if you want to come and buy some stuff. That works too. The Vinyl Loft at the Vermont Antique Mall, Quechee, Vermont. And also, hopefully I'll be getting back doing the podcast that I used to do that was called the Vinyl Loft. The Upper Valley's All Vinyl podcast. We'll try to get that going again real soon. It's been a year. There's been a lot of stuff going on, and but I redesigned the studio upstairs, so it's like really nice and comfortable.
How many times have you redesigned the studio upstairs?
A few times, but this last redesign took several weeks.
Mm-hmm. And it's definitely going to stick for the next 2 months until it's 3 months, and then you need to rearrange. Oh, sorry, no, that's the living room.
That's the living room.
Anyway, so you might remember from our last cast that we were talking about the discontinuation of AOL dial-up service. Well, apparently it's just the year of older stuff being retired, as I wanted to use it. Xfinity Email announced, I don't actually know exactly when, but recently, I think in the past month or so, that they will be moving from providing being their own email provider to Yahoo Mail, which is an interesting choice. Probably just because Yahoo's willing to take everybody who wants to. I do know earlier in the past couple of months, they stopped issuing new at Comcast email accounts. And that was kind of weird, and I was wondering how long that was going to last, because most companies, when they hit that phase, then they stay in that phase for several years, and then they move on. But apparently, Xfinity/Comcast is deciding, let's just light that fire now. So according to them, beginning in June of 2025, cool, I have a date, Comcast.net email accounts will begin transitioning to Yahoo Mail. This transition will happen in phases through 2026. There's nothing you need to do until they let you know that it's time for you to complete your move. So they're going to be doing people in chunks type of thing. As they put it, you'll keep the features that you love most about Xfinity Mail when you make the move, including your current Comcast email address, messages, folders, and contacts. So moving to Yahoo Mail will only impact your Comcast.net email. None of your other Comcast services will be impacted. So it's just specifically the email. So knowing several people in my own family, let alone outside of my family, I learned about this from a customer, and she was in a full panic. Reading into it, the actual transition, you'll be notified in 30 days in advance to move your Comcast email account, or accounts if you have more than one, to Yahoo Mail. When that time comes, you will have 3 options. You can move your email to Yahoo Mail, but you have to accept their terms of service and privacy policy to keep your Comcast.net email. You could also export your email data using the Xfinity Export portal, cool, or you could close your account. Those are basically your 3 options. The transition, basically once you give Yahoo the approval, it'll just transition all of your stuff over to Yahoo. Any third-party apps that you may use that log into that for you, so Apple Mail, the envelope-looking like icon that's either on your phone or on your computer or on your iPad, or Outlook or Thunderbird. Those are the big 3 I can think of off the top of my head. There's many others that are out there. Those will need to be, basically you have to delete your Comcast login information off of said device, whichever thing you have, and then sign into your Comcast using the Yahoo information, which is basically just tapping Yahoo and typing in your Comcast information. On that side of things, besides the annoyance of having to deal with that, that's kind of nice because Yahoo is much easier to sign into on those devices. But there's a lot of concerns because basically when it comes to the security and which email accounts are the most hacked, are the most spammed, are the most attacked, it goes AOL and then Yahoo. So Comcast, which was technically a slight tier above Yahoo, just put themselves down a tier, and now they put all of the, and there's a lot of people with Comcast email out there. They just jumped it down, and their reasoning is because Yahoo Mail is more secure. And unfortunately, I do agree with some of that, and sometimes they're insane. I was working with a customer yesterday or the other day. So there's a Y Mail and there's a Yahoo Mail, and the Y Mail Plus is a paid version, and she was paying $5 a month for it. Now they won't even accept her money, and they're going to discontinue her Yahoo account that she's had since like the beginning of time because they can't verify it's her. Even using a driver's license and this fancy like scanning program that is legitimate, I checked it before I had her do it, they can't identify that it's her, so she's just not allowed to reset her password or get into her Yahoo account. So I've had to help her transition to a different email provider, which at this point I prefer Gmail. It's free, it generally works. You can still get locked out in similar ways, but not as extreme. Yeah, I'm not concerned about this. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest problems we have is, okay, you encounter a customer with a Yahoo email address or whatever email address they need, Yahoo, MSN, an old Hotmail, whatever they may have.
Forgot about those.
And granted, Hotmail and MSN, those are just grandfathered in, and you just go to the Microsoft website and you're good. Things like Yahoo, yeah, in the early days of the internet, it was great, but the Yahoo site itself, there's so many ads, there's so much potential for adware and malware to get on your computer, which unfortunately isn't Yahoo's fault. Sites like Yahoo and other sites that have lots of just ads embedded into them, they just have ad space. They don't really control who buys that ad space. But when you're out on the internet and you start clicking through links that you think are legitimate, especially on like something like the Yahoo site, you click on that site and then suddenly you just get attacked with this pop-up and malware, and it can be really scary for people. And, in that case, we invite you to, reach out to Apple Care support or reach out to local computer companies that, support.
Yeah, your internet provider's not really going to be able to help you with it. It's going to be more computer people.
Computer store.
Banks are also being advised on this. Actually, there's training in basic stores these days. As a person who worked at Staples for a while, we had to learn what to tell people if they were coming in and buying a ton of gift cards. That was a fun one.
Yeah. So we generally advise people that, hey, if you have a Yahoo email account and you're comfortable with that, great. Please don't go to the Yahoo website to retrieve your email. Use the app that's on your phone.
It's also very confusing and messy. I mean, AOL and Yahoo use the same platforms now because, AOL owns them. Or other way around, sorry, Yahoo owns AOL. I feel like Yahoo's just whoever wants it. Whoever doesn't want their email, they all go to Yahoo. I mean, Verizon did the same thing years ago. And there was another one that Charter, I think, did that too. So it's a whole bunch of small little companies that
and that's one of the problems
done.
we have here in this area is we have a lot of small little regional telephone companies that were ISPs at one point, and they provided their customers with emails, and those customers will work with those kinds of customers, and they'll be like, I can't get into my email, or I need to change the password, I need to do something, and we're like, we don't know how to get you into the site, and your ISP no longer exists. Yet you have this legacy email floating out there.
I call it disintegrating, but yeah.
Yeah, floating out there in the ether. It's your choice. Use whatever email address you want. I mean, yes. Yeah, everyone worries about Google and tracking and
there's nobody who
stuff.
doesn't, unfortunately, for email accounts at this point, except I think possibly Apple and their iCloud, but even that, there's a limit. There's other things I don't like about having an iCloud. I don't mind having an iCloud email as a backup also because it's cool and I can. But if you ever get locked out of your Apple ID, it's going to want to send you a verification email. And if you can't get to your email, you're stuck. So I tend to like having a secondary one. Gmail is also, to me, it's the safest free one that's out there. There are other services you can do that you can pay for. A big one that's getting bigger these days is Proton Mail. There's also, I think they're calling themselves Microsoft 365 Email now. There's also that as well. Those are paid. Those are not free. There is a free Outlook, but I'm iffy on Outlook stuff at this point. There's not a lot of great options. Free is going away, but Gmail to me is the last big king of free, as well as they give you, I believe, up to 15 gigabytes of email storage space, which for emails, that's a lot. Most email providers are giving you 2 to 5 gigabytes, and that's usually good. I would probably say for about 2 to 3 years. I'd almost say 1 gig per year, roughly, for most people. Maybe you could do 2 years per gig, but that's roughly in that range. So this is 15 years, roughly, of storage space with Google. I mean, Google wants you to do more with them, but if you're just looking at the email, I mean, I'm still on the free version of Google, and I've had my email since I was in college, so that was 2009. I've been doing pretty well, and I have a lot of crap in there. I don't clean it out that much. So there's a lot of options there. Either way, this transition, if you're going to stay with the Yahoo, transitioning over to Yahoo, that means you don't lose your previous history. But there's also a lot of people who have been using Comcast for so long that they have it set up in what's considered the older style. I don't know if I want to, it's called service. So back in the olden days, when we started having emails, there was the original way that you received emails on a computer using what's considered a third-party app. So like Apple Mail and Outlook were the two biggies, or Entourage in that time on the Mac side. If you were using those, you'd basically sign your information in there, and you had to put in all of your server settings. This is something we don't deal with as much these days. And Comcast, like everybody else at the time, was set up with the original way, which was called POP. And no, I don't know what it stands for off the top of my head. Sorry. And what that did is it downloaded a copy of every email that came in, and it downloaded a copy of every email you sent to your computer, which is great when you accidentally go, oops, and you deleted something and you didn't mean to. Because then Comcast or whoever can look like the hero and can go, look, here, I'll just resend that email back to you and you get it back. Well, as time has progressed and we've gotten more than one device in our life per person, so a computer, a phone, or an iPad, and then having multiple of those or different variances of them, they created another way of receiving your email. Like the emails themselves are the same and that sort of thing. It's basically the background of how your computer interacts to get the mail, called IMAP. And again, I don't know what that one stands for, and I'm okay with not Google searching it, but thank you for putting it in front of my face. So for those who would like to know, POP stands for Post Office Protocol. IMAP stands for Internet Message Access Protocol, because I needed to know that in my life. But anyway, what IMAP does is it actually downloads the original email to your devices, so they all get that original one. So basically, at the end of the day, what it means is if you delete something off of your phone, it deletes off of your computer and off of your iPad or off of whatever other devices you're using, or your other computer, and vice versa, which is more what people generally want on their devices. They don't want to have to delete the same email twice, 3 times, 4 times, especially with the amount of spam we get. POP, you would have to do that way. And there is a large majority, I would say about half the customers I work with are still working on that older POP email receiving system. And they don't want to change. There are ways that you can make IMAP do that, but it's, IMAP wants to do things one way and one way only. So I've had iffy results with that. So that's going to be a change because Yahoo doesn't really support POP. Most companies aren't trying to support POP anymore, and that's part of why Comcast is moving. But yeah, so that's going to be weird for people, as well as Yahoo's website. For those who are used to going to the Xfinity website and getting their email that way, or clicking on their internet browser, so Safari, Firefox, Google Chrome, Opera, Brave, I think that's all the ones I can think of right now. If you're using those to get to your email and you're currently a Comcast email user, it's going to look very different no matter which with Yahoo. And I'm not looking forward to this conversation with my grandfather, who is 93, I think now, and definitely starting to lose his computer abilities. So I'm trying not to make drastic changes, but don't think I got a choice on this one.
We'll definitely keep you posted on that in future occasions. I mean, and speaking of your grandfather, I think we'll talk about this in the next show. The next iteration of macOS, which is set to be released, I think, probably pretty soon, macOS Tahoe, Apple's going to be discontinuing support for Intel Macs.
After Tahoe. This is
After
the last
Tahoe.
version.
Tahoe is going to be the last version of Mac OS. So there's
that supports Intel. Not last version ever.
No, support the last version that supports Intel Macs. And so we'll talk about that stuff that's coming down the pike. And yes, we do have to address you folks that are that may be listening, or you may have friends, or you may have family, or may have coworkers that are kind of wondering, well, what am I going to do about this whole Windows 10 situation? Even though you've had at least 2 years to figure it out, but
how much should you care about the Windows 10?
How much should you care that Windows 10 is going to stop being supported by Microsoft?
Yeah, that's an interesting one that we deal with. So at my work, we sell both Windows and Mac, and you have to work with both. And we're definitely seeing a lot of transitions. Actually, a lot of our PC technicians are trying to find ways that can make the machines that aren't supposed to work with Windows 11, which they've had very mild luck. I think we've got 2 that are successful, and we're still trying to see if they just magically blow up at this point. So it's kind of extreme for the Windows side. Apple's been doing things like this for years, and then the Windows users used to made fun of the Apple users for having to deal with this. Apple generally supports their devices for 5 to 7 years after they are originally produced, and so by that it's the last one that was produced during that year. It's usually 5 years from then that they become vintage, which means Apple stops releasing updates. Then 2 more years after that, 2 to 3, they hit obsolete, which means Apple doesn't know that they existed at all, and you're on your own, as not nicely as they put that. They have fancy words.
Both hardware and
software. Yeah,
mostly
vintage
hardware.
We can still get parts for so long. Basically, they stop producing parts, but so long as they're still stocked at the magical Apple warehouse, we could still potentially get those. Once they hit obsolete, I would just say the repair site we use just points and laughs at us if we try to do anything. Windows, on the other hand, you've been able to run, I think, machines since, Vista machines up through to Windows 10, though they shouldn't, but they could. So this is quite a drastic, I want to say guillotine, where they're just chopping off a whole bunch. And also, some of these machines are brand new machines or a couple of years old.
Just for whatever reason, the manufacturer cheaped out with the specs.
Yeah, and they got a cheaper chip. And that's some of where, with the PC side, let me just be clear, I'm very biased. I'm very much an Apple person, and I'm more knowledgeable on the Apple side, hence don't scully around. The thing is on the PC side, Microsoft doesn't control the computers that Microsoft Windows gets installed on. They have their own Surface and stuff like that, and that's supported and all that jazz. They didn't have that until relatively recently, as well as it's kind of the wild, wild west. They just sit here and go, here's the minimum requirements, go. And so if you got a cheaper computer, this could be why it was cheaper, because they got a cheaper processor, cheaper RAM. I mean, honestly, if you don't have the right processor or graphics card, that's your limiting factor. The other ones you can generally upgrade unless the company that produced your machine made it so you can't upgrade your RAM or your storage. Those are things that you can do. It's kind of 50-50. Some companies do, some companies don't. So we've been running into that issue, and honestly, we're doing a lot of, can this go? I feel like it's like a game show these days. Just spin the dial. Can yours go? There's actually an app for it. If you go into the settings on your computer, it'll ask you about Windows 11, and then it'll guide you to this app. I think it's called PC Checker, very original, and it'll basically just run a really quick test on your Windows machine to see if your Windows machine can go there. If it can't go there, what does that mean for that computer? It means that that computer cannot go to Windows 11. Windows 10 is no longer going to be supported by Microsoft, which means Microsoft's going to stop putting out updates. That means that the security that Windows puts out in its system, the patches that it puts out in its system or in its updates, those are going to stop coming. It doesn't mean the computer just goes, poof, I'm dead. It still continues to run. It just means you really need good antivirus, because anything that was left from Windows is going to go away. And it's going to, as time goes on, you're going to start running into more and more security issues and more issues with programs that don't function anymore.
Especially security issues where your internet browsers are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, primarily it's going to be Microsoft Edge for those who have to use that. Google Chrome and Firefox update outside of the operating system, meaning that they don't rely on the operating system to be able to run updates generally. Those are, even on the Mac side, those are the systems that'll just kind of keep going and keep updating and can be a very good band-aid to get you through a while longer. There's things that can be done, but it's basically at this point, you need to think about replacing that unit or reducing how much you use it to use the internet. Because you can still use other programs on those machines. You can still print so long as your printer's still alive. That sort of thing. It's just internet, which unfortunately is a wide range of what we do these days.
That is true. I mean, I still have my XP Pro machine upstairs, which runs all my gaming emulators, but that's fine. I can still use that. I may need to put an SSD in it at some point, but it still works. And if you're a PC user and you're on Windows 10, you have 3 options. You need to move to a newer machine and get yourself Windows 11. Now, your hardware of your current machine does support Linux. You can go down that rabbit hole and learn all about the fun world of Linux. And quite frankly, if you need a computer that all you need to do is go on the internet and check your email, short of blowing a couple $100 on a Chromebook, keeping your old computer going and running Linux on it can be a very economical way to go. And same thing for your Mac. Older Intel Macs really do shine on Linux, believe it or not. They seem to run really, really well. They seem to like it.
But also bear in mind that...
Or you can buy a Mac.
Yeah, but also bear in mind, with Linux, you are completely on your own. There's no, Linux store. You are on your own to learn how to install it. You're on your own to support it. You might find somebody who knows how to use it, but you are even more on your own than you are with Windows.
That is true. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Don't Scully Around. As always, we encourage you, if you have an Apple device, especially one that's under warranty and has an Apple Care Plus, don't take that device to the little kiosk at the mall and get your screen or battery replaced. You know, you bought a warranty for a reason, and the Apple Care warranty isn't a scam. We, as technicians, definitely encourage you to buy that because it's very expensive to replace parts on your device if you don't have the accidental damage protection. So we always encourage you to go to an Apple store or go to a
authorized service provider.
That's right. So join us again real soon for another edition of Don't Scully Around, and we'll see you
on the next one.